We usually talk about what goes wrong in construction.
The mistakes, the missed details, the I wish I known moments.
But today is a success story.
One homeowner changed everything by making one smart move early, hiring an independent interior designer.
That decision saved time, avoided costly mistakes, and turned that dream house into a house that actually works.
Today, we're breaking down how that choice changed the entire build and how you can do the same.
Welcome to Chicks in Construction. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chicks in Construction. I am your host, Mikki Paradis, and this is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Jessica Abreu.
And today we're going to talk about some red flags. We're going to talk about some do's and don'ts. I had a great little chat with a lady on an airplane, and it inspired today's episode.
Love an airplane chat sometimes.
Oh,
unless they like chalk your ear off the entire ride, and you're
This
just
lady
like,
was a good mix.
Okay.
So it was a unique situation. I went to Costa Rica. It was amazing. And she was on the flight with me from RDU to Charlotte and from Charlotte to Costa Rica. So that, like, I normally don't have the same little buddy.
Person.
And we were in the same seat. Like, it was weird. It was the universe, if we're being honest. It was the universe being like, you guys should talk about the podcast. She's got some good insights. So she was a good mix, though. She was a little chitty chatty, but she also was into her book. And so we would have these little bouts
pauses.
of convo. She was very sweet.
is she older, younger?
Yeah, she's probably my age, maybe a little bit older, because she has like grownish kids. I don't know. I don't know how old people are. We looked roughly about the same age. But she was very sweet. Like she was so excited the fact that we were on the same flight, like same seats, and she's like, "We're both flights now. We're travel buddies." And I just thought it was like the cutest thing. I was like, she's so genuinely excited about this. I have to be excited about it too. So if you're watching, I see you, boo. Travel booze forever. So she was telling me, because I was telling her like, hey, she's like, what do you do? And I'm like, what don't I do? All the things. I also have a podcast. And I was telling her kind of what the podcast is about, which maybe we should remind the viewers, the podcast, what it's about. So listen, what we're here for is to help you, the homeowner, or the soon-to-be homeowner, or the one-day homeowner, know how to navigate the world of construction. So I have been in construction for 20 plus years, and I have had so many friends and family and just like random strangers on the street tell me these stories of these horrible experiences they've had with general contractors, with tradespeople, with like construction as a whole. And that is why I actually was inspired to go get my general contractor's license, because I thought maybe I could help move the needle. Turns out that's not my calling, but it still is something I'm really passionate about, is helping homeowners understand how construction works, like a little bit more about like a deep dive, if you will, things to look out for, things to know, what's normal, what's not normal, because the more you know. Dun, 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 dun. And I am very passionate about that. If we can help, if we do 1,000 episodes of this podcast and we can help one person recognize a red flag as it is happening, or do their research before they sign a contract
and save them some money,
it will be worth it to me, because the stories that I have been told over the years, I think the one that really like stays in my soul, one of my neighbors, like I live in this neighborhood where it was once a just regular neighborhood.
A regular people neighborhood. It is not that now. I drove into it for the first time and I was like,
she was like, Mikki has money. And then she pulled into my house. She's like, just kidding. It does like, give that. It was funny because when my niece moved here, I told her, I was like, listen, you might encounter, if you tell people our neighborhood, you might encounter somebody being like, oh, you've got money. And I don't know what made me think to tell her this. I was just like, wanted her to be prepared of it. Cause like, listen, we from Florida. We have the streets. Okay. We're not Gen Pop people. We're in Gen Pop, but should we? Probably not. Like if you're from Florida and you know who you are, if you're from Florida, you know. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in Florida. If you from Florida, you of the street. So I was just trying to warn her. Like people might make assumptions about how you live if you tell them the neighborhood we're in. And I didn't think about it again. I just mentioned it, didn't think about it again. She comes home from work like every other day and I was like, so somebody asked me where I live and I told them and they're like, oh, you got money. And she's like, how do I explain to them? First of all, it's not even my house. I just live there. And I was like, I don't know. I'm glad I warned her. So anyway, sidetrack. Our neighborhood is one of those neighborhoods where the builders came in and they've built all the things.
Yeah, they take the little house
they tear it down, they split the lot, and sometimes in threes, and they build these like little McMansions.
On these little tiny lots.
Tiny boxes. What is that house? Little boxes. Little boxes made of tacky. Okay.
No idea what she's saying
Clearly,
right now.
you have never watched the show Weeds.
No, I have not.
Weeds? What is it, Joe Weeds? Weeds.
No.
It's Weeds. Well, it was a hit on HBO for some time, and that was their intro. It was
Do you not remember? Like, I never watched TV or movies.
Doesn't watch TV. That's.
I mean, I do now, but I was never allowed to growing up.
Well, this one you definitely wouldn't have been allowed to watch.
Yeah.
I think I was in college, so you might have, whatever. I digress.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know how we got on this subject. But side quest. People are like, I thought the word was focus. It is. We're working on it. I'm trying. Okay. But that is the purpose. Like, we just want to help homeowners have better experiences, to understand what is normal, what isn't normal, no matter what they're doing, whether they're, working with a builder who's going to buy a house in my neighborhood, tear it down, build a mini mansion, or you're going to renovate your kitchen, or even if you're dealing with just tradespeople, if you like, okay, I needed an electrician to come into my house and do this or that, to have a baseline of understanding. Because let's be real, if you don't know, you don't know. If you haven't had that experience, if you don't work in construction, you don't know. And so many people need a baseline. And so that is the purpose of the podcast. In case you didn't know, we're circling back. So I'm on the plane next to this lady and I tell her about the podcast. I tell her what we're trying to do. And she's like, oh my gosh, I just got done building my dream house. And I was like, tell me everything. So she is an empty nester. Her kids are off to college. They had this, mammoth of a house for all their many, many children. I actually don't think it was that many, but to me, one is whoa, it's so much. Now, mind you, I have 4 dogs, and that's fine. But one child, overwhelmed. So they sold their big house and they bought they bought a house that, apparently they approached this family that was living in the house and were like, hey, we want to buy your house. Like, very I don't know. In my mind, I immediately go to the mafia, but I guess it's a normal thing. They made them an offer they couldn't refuse.
Yeah, because especially if you want to live in a certain neighborhood or area,
wild.
You can just go up to them and ask.
I will say it happens to us quite a bit. And I'm just like, where would I live? If you paid me that amount of money, it's still not enough money to build a house in my neighborhood
I can imagine that a lot of people would want your lot.
Oh, yeah, because it's so big. And so, people are constantly like, oh, how much for your house? $0. That's how much. I couldn't live anywhere else. Also, I mean, I do respect that we would have to burn my house down. That's my fault. I did that with 4 dogs. Anywho.
Your special trash.
Oh, God. Poor Hector. He did something last night and I was like, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast. And of course, I can't remember it.
It'll come to you later today and you'll be like, that's what I wanted.
It's 100% going to come back to me.
You're going to have to text it to me.
I'll text it to you and you can remind me for the next one. Just as good about things like that. She doesn't have, or she has kids and they haven't rotted her brain. I don't have kids yet. My brain is rotted. You do the math. I'm going to blame construction.
Have kids. It saves your life.
And apparently money and taxes, if you do it right, I don't know. We just had that talk.
I don't know. The kids are really expensive.
Yeah, they do seem pricey. I feel like a lot of people will say to me, this is another side quest, I'm sorry. A lot of people will say to me, oh, well, who's going to take care of you when you're old? And I'm like, Carol, the same people that are going to take care of you, because we're going to be in the same nursing home, but I'm going to have the penthouse suite because I didn't put 3 kids through college. You're going to be in one of them shared rooms. Do you see the difference?
This is why I have to fly economy and you get to fly first class. I can't. What am I going to do? Leave my kids and coach?
See, that's why I don't have kids, because I 100% would. I would Kevin McAllister it all the way. they were on their way to France. And their kids were in the coach and they were in first class. And I'm like, that's how I be rolling. And that's why I don't have kids.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Side quest
complete. So she was telling me she had this amazing experience. And I was like, tell me everything. Because as much as I think it's super valuable to share the horror stories. I also think it's really valuable to kind of share the good stories and pick apart the things that really helped the situation to go well. And so we want to talk a little bit about that today. Kind of a switch up from the homeowner horror story to like, this was a homeowner win. So if you have a homeowner win, we would also love to showcase that because I think there's a lot of great information. There's a lot of value for the other listeners and for other people to know this is what happened. And then we as the, podcasters can help to show, okay, this one move they did saved the entire trajectory of what they were doing. So please go to chicksandconstruction.com and share your homeowner wins because we do want to talk about those as well. I think they're equally as valuable.
Yeah.
So the one thing that she said was when she picked her builder, she went with a mix of, because she has an education background.
Okay.
So she went with a mix of like, she did a deep dive. She gone girled it. I don't know that that's the right term, but I like it.
We're going with it.
Went deep. And so she did some of the advice, like without having to, I guess because she has that education background, I'm not sure. She checked and made sure that he was legit, that he was licensed, that he didn't have any judgments against him, that he like had a good rating with the Better Business Bureau.
That's awesome.
She also talked with people that she found, like, because when I say she went deep, she found people who had posted about like work that this builder had done in the past. So it wasn't like, oh, they gave me these people's contact information. She found where they had tagged them.
Oh,
and
nice.
Went to them directly and was like, tell me about your experience. And they were all like, oh, it was a great experience. One thing that came out of that was somebody highly recommended that they work with an interior designer. Ooh. And she said that this was the biggest game-changing experience because the interior designer, and again, we've talked about this a lot, the importance of not having your builder recommend your interior designer or your builder recommend the bank or your builder like there needs to be a separation.
Yes.
To have this third party kind of in there that's also representing you. So somebody recommended like, oh, check out this interior designer. We used her. We had a really great experience. I'm just going to say, I don't think I can get her on the show because she seems like a real big deal. But I am working on getting an interior designer to be for the show because I think that would be a really great experience to kind of know the difference between what a interior designer does and a general contractor and an architect. Like they're all very different things.
Very different.
But depending on the scope of your renovation, they're all kind of needed. So what she said was, she hired the builder, she found the interior designer, and the level of thinking through things was so high level from the interior designer. And she said that's where she thinks her experience like really was elevated because the interior designer was thinking about things that I think the average homeowner would think it was the general contractor's job, but isn't. It is more an interior design. Like she was even saying like when it came to how high, because there's code and that is what the general contractor is required to do, is required to build your house to code. Right. But there's code and then there's functionality. Yes. Some general contractors are good at both, but technically
they don't have to be.
Yeah. It's like, if you can build a house, there you go. Like we built it, here you are. But to have that like next level experience of like, oh my God, I just love how my house is laid out. I love, one of the things that I notice everywhere I go is light switches. I don't know if you've ever like been in a hotel or been in an Airbnb and the light switches were in the weirdest possible spot.
Or you think that it's going to switch it for
that light
this
and
room
it
and
switches
it's
on
like
in
over
another,
there.
Yeah. I don't
why?
know. I went to this house once and it had a strip of switches, and it was probably 10 switches. And I'm like, first of all, is that a custom made plate? Like, where do you get a light switch plate with that many switches in it? And it was just like, you're just like switching things, and you're like, what is turning on what?
It's turning on the upstairs lights.
It was nonsense. It was absolute nonsense.
Oh my God.
And like, to be fair, right? That is very high level. Like, thinking through the light switches is probably not something a general contractor is going to do. They're going to sub the work out to an electrician. An electrician's going to do what he thinks makes the most sense. And this is where she said having the interior designer come in and be like, nope, this switch needs to connect to this. Like, not only did she map out where, like, what light switches were going to go to what lights, but she even like thought through the height of outlets. And like, okay, well, this is where your bed's going to go. So let's raise your outlet so you don't have to like,
right.
You know, when you're like trying to get the plug and you got to go behind the bed and you're like, you can just use your pinky finger to push the plug in, because if not, you have to move the whole bed.
You know what the worst one is? Behind the couch, because like you can't put the couch up against the wall because the plug is sticking out this far. And I'm like, oh, so I wish I had a plug in the floor.
Yeah, we actually had to put one in the floor because we have an open concept, and I was like, I need to charge my phone.
Yeah.
But it is.
I'm not moving. I'm not changing it. So I just put a little like flat one there to a surge protector.
Yes.
Look at me knowing words.
Look at you knowing words. You're doing it today. Do it, lady. So,
sorry.
Like, no, I mean, but that is one of those things where it's like, obviously hiring an interior designer has a cost to it. But part of what I learned when I was talking to this woman was, I think at the end of the day, when you hire the right interior designer, the cost, I think she made up the cost in like what she did and how she helped the homeowner. So like, they didn't have these massive change orders. They didn't have this issue of not being able to source materials, because as an interior designer, she got the good. Like, she's connected. So she's got a relationship with not just the lady that works at the tile place. She's got a connection with like somebody big in the tile company. So like, she said like, when she went into the tile place, she was like, don't look, don't walk around the showroom. She was like, come straight back. And she had this little selections board, like, kind of put together for her. And she was like, you know, so they would give her like 3 choices and she could choose from. And she said, listen, if there was something that I didn't like, they would have happily like reworked it. But everything that went into like the design and the functionality of the house and the tiles, the flooring, everything was so well thought through. And she was like, listen, she wasn't cheap, but at the end of the day, we didn't have to do a ton of rework. We didn't, and we're incredibly happy with our house.
Think about the time that you save, because she went and picked those 3 for you to look at.
Yeah.
Because I would go into the store and be like, ooh, that's pretty, that's pretty, and then they have to tell you, oh, how long it's going to take, how much over my budget it is.
100%.
So just that, the time savings is huge.
And again, that's one of the things that, like, when you're looking at the cost of things, sometimes looking at how much an interior designer costs is like, oh, that's a lot. But as we have learned on the pod, it's expensive. Whatever you're going to do to your house is going to cost money.
A lot.
And at the end of the day, if you're going to spend the money to do it, we want to encourage you to spend the money to do it right. So that you are really happy with it. Because I think I just realized that I was in the middle of telling a story. We did a side quest. I came back. Sorry, squirrel. I think there's a really big difference between doing a renovation and having it done and then being thrilled with it. And this is what made me realize, let me tell you the story. It's really just finishing a side quest. We were talking about my neighborhood and the houses in my neighborhood.
Oh, yes.
And the point of that was I had a neighbor who, you know, again, if you've lived in that neighborhood a long time, you're not rolling in dough. Her father passed away and left her $50,000, and she used that to renovate her kitchen. And these people raked her over the coals so bad. Like, the kitchen was not bigger than the stage. Like it was a tiny little galley kitchen, $50,000. One of the things, like she reached out to me eventually and was just so overwhelmed with how bad of an experience she had. And she, I think it was something like $26,000 just on the cabinets. So I had a friend who worked at a cabinet distribution company, and I said, can I bring my friend out so he can look at the type of cabinets and see, did you overpay? So he said maximum with like the most markup that they could possibly add to that kitchen, those cabinets cost $10,000. And they charged her $26,000.
Terrible.
And horrible. And again, if you were working with a third party something, somebody who's coming in and going, no, cabinets don't cost that much. Not those cabinets, to be, it's kind of that advocate for you. They never would have found themselves in that situation. No. But that's where you want to save money, but at the end of the day, are you saving money? If you had hired an independent, if my neighbor had hired an independent interior designer and that general contractor came and said, this is how much the cabinets are going to cost,
she would have
they
laughed
would have been
at
like,
him.
Absolutely not. That is not how much those cost. Like, we'll use my cabinet, people. And so that's where, when you're planning a renovation or you're thinking about doing something big in your house, or you're going to build a house or whatever it is you're thinking about doing, weighing that cost against not just the financial piece of it, but how much peace of mind that's going to buy you. Like at the end of the day, if you're so thrilled, like maybe you spent $50,000 more than you were hoping. I know that's a crazy ton of money. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just like, I get that's a crazy ton of money. But if you spent more than you're asking, or more than you were anticipating, and yet you're thrilled with the renovation,
then you don't mind spending the money.
Then it's kind of like, well, it was a lot, but I love my kitchen. I love my bathroom. I love this house. And that was the lady on the plane. Like, she was honest. Like, listen, it cost more than we wanted to spend. But I am so thrilled with every aspect of my house because it is all so well thought through. Like, she was saying that they came to her and were like asking her questions about things she never would have thought about until she had been living in the house. And so like once they finally moved in, she was saying like, I think it was about the plugs, when they were just plugging there, because they'd put in the USB plug so they could just plug their phones. She was like realizing that they were asking me questions so that my house was so much more functional. Like, she didn't realize a lot of times the questions they were asking was about making the functionality of the house better. But now that like the house functions so well, she's like, it was the best money I've ever spent. So that's something we wanted to talk to all of you guys about. Like, when you are engaging in budgeting for a renovation or building a house, thinking about having somebody else involved that is not connected to your general contractor, that's not connected to anybody else, that can come in and just be like, hey, let me help you make decisions. Let me help your general contractor know more about what you need and what you want. Because, and I find this a lot, like the assumption when I was working, I mean, I'm still a licensed GC, but when I was working in that space, the assumption was because I was a woman, I was also an interior designer. Y'all, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like,
I'm not an interior designer either. And like, I mean, I still don't have curtains in my house. Because like, I don't even like, I look at curtains, I'm like, I don't like any of those. I don't think that they would look good. I don't. Yeah. So no.
And I'm just like, I can pick colors like for my house that I like, but color, all of that stuff is so unique. Like, you have to know what you're doing and understanding. I think especially too, right? Because things are so expensive that we as the consumer, right, think that, okay, if I'm spending this much money, this better be the best kitchen that there ever was. And I get that mentality. I get the thought process of like, okay, this is my life savings, or this is like, I've been saving for this long to do this kitchen renovation. It has to be perfect. In order to get that outcome, it's not just about the amount of money you spend. It's about doing the research. It's about making sure that you have people that are, kind of looking out for your best interest. And yes, that costs money, but in the long run, how much money does it cost?
And peace of mind and your time and just so many things. So like how much would a interior designer be like in addition to, like, did she say like how much she paid her?
She did not say. And I felt, because I believe it or not, guys, I do try to be polite sometimes. I know it's shocking. I felt like it was a little rude to like specifically
I guess like
ask.
if she wanted to share, she probably would have.
I get the feeling that it was a very expensive house. So I'm guessing she spent at least $50,000 to $100,000. But I genuinely think, especially when you're building a house, the connections that interior designers have for materials, for even just for labor, like if your general contractor doesn't have somebody to do a specific trade, interior designers, a lot of times they know a guy. They know a guy or they know a gal. And so on that end, I'm going to say, regardless, she was thrilled. Like, she was thrilled. She acknowledged that it was a lot of money, but she was so happy with the outcome. And so that got me thinking about, like, okay, what are things that homeowners can do to help increase their chances of being really happy with the outcome?
Nice.
And so one is definitely considering all the different pieces, understanding that your general contractor is not an interior designer. They're not going to think through the functionality of every aspect of your home. And if that's important to you, then considering bringing on somebody an interior designer or someone of that nature is really important. When you're dealing with an architect, so like if you are doing like an addition or a big, like a new build, or if you have to do like really big remodel,
like a take out a wall that was like a support, right?
Yeah,
you have to
and that wouldn't be an architect. That would be a structural engineer.
Okay,
but
more words,
words, and some numbers,
and another person.
Yeah. So but so when you're doing big renovations, a lot of times you're dealing with an architect. Having your architect understand the functionality that you want, because again, a builder is going to build what drawings you hand them. Like a general contractor is just we build things. We orchestrate things to be built. That's what we do. So assuming that a general contractor is going to factor in the functionality, it's not setting yourself up for success. And we want to help you set yourself up for success. So factoring in that they're not going to necessarily automatically think about functionality. They're going to think about building it to code. They're going to think about building it so that, it functions, but how it functions isn't exactly what they're thinking about, just that it does function. So, and that's where an interior designer...
and they'll pass inspection.
Right, they'll pass inspection. It will work, but is that light switch in the weirdest place possible? It is, and the general contractor doesn't care.
Nope.
An interior designer does. That will drive an interior designer crazy all day long. Like when you come in and the switch you flip isn't for the light right there, that's going to drive an interior designer nuts. And I know this. I do have a friend who's an interior designer. Hopefully she's going to come on the show. I've been hounding her. And she's like that. Like we'll go into a place and she'll be like, oh my God, the switch, the lights. Oh, so I'm just like, oh, I can't. I look at drywall and I think, oh, that's really bad drywall. I can't imagine having an eye for like the light switches and the plugs and
going into anybody else's house.
Just being like disgusted. Because that's kind of the vibe she gives. She's just like, oh, who did this? She went to design school in Paris. And I'm just like, I love how bougie you are. Oh. So that's step one is not step one, but it's one of the things that you can do to help improve your experience is having somebody that is thinking about the functionality and not just assuming that your general contractor can do that. Now, listen, I do know of a lot of general contractors that have relationships with interior designers. Mm-hmm. I do know of an interior designer that got her general contractor's license because she was finding herself in a situation where the homeowners didn't want to deal with anybody but her. And I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. I think for the right person, it's fine. But I think for the purpose of what we're trying to help you guys avoid, bundling is not the move.
No, only for insurance.
Yeah. Bundle your home and auto. Don't bundle your interior designer and your general contractor.
Bundle your construction work. So we were talking about price and we did a little research behind the scenes and we found out that it's $8,000 to $15,000 to hire
like that's like a nationwide average. So it could be wildly different in like California or here or wherever, Texas. But that is actually less than I was thinking it would cost.
That's not terrible.
No. And I can guarantee you for that amount of money, that interior designer is going to make that, like, is going to offset that cost
so easily. I mean, you think about it. You get 2 change orders.
Yeah.
For things that you want that are bougier than what you started with.
Yeah. And if they have a relationship with the tile person, and they always get a better price because they have those relationships, they've nurtured those relationships, and they buy a lot of tile, especially, or whatever. It's not even just tile. They buy a lot of materials. So especially if you're using like a really reputable interior designer. But so what we were saying was just avoid the bundle. And I do understand like the easy button and how when, a builder is, oh yeah, we have an interior designer. If they work for the general contractor, they're not working for you. And so I don't recommend paying. Like, it's one thing if a general contractor says, oh, we have an interior designer on staff and they're going to help you at no added cost. That's all right. It's still not achieving what we're trying to get you to achieve. But like, if you're not paying extra for it and they work for them, that's fine. But I would not recommend working with an interior designer that is paid by the general contractor, because part of the purpose of paying that money is for them to work for you, to work in your best interest. If they're paid by the general contractor, it's not in their best interest to push back on some of the things the general contractor is doing. Like if they see something amiss, they may be less likely to come forward and say, hey, this is wrong. It needs to be redone, because it could affect their ability to get paid. So having that person be truly independent from the general contractor, I think, is really important. Some other things that we were thinking about, like what we've talked about this before, but how do you avoid finding yourself in a situation where you've done this renovation, it's over with now, you spent way more money than you did, which is you wanted to, and it also, you're not happy with it. It really starts with the research that you do on who you pick. We've talked about this ad nauseum, guys, but I cannot recommend, I cannot more importantly emphasize
doing the
research. The last week's podcast was about a general contractor here in North Carolina that has scammed people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if these people that signed with him had done some research, they would have found some really shady things. And so checking to make sure that the person that you're going to work with doesn't have previous judgments against them, that they haven't, had 7 different companies under 7 different names in the same industry, things like that are red flags. And so doing that research and making sure that you're checking on before you sign. Can't stress this enough.
Make sure that you check that their license.
Horror story is like, I signed with them, I gave them money, things started to go bad, and then I did my research. And that is the biggest mistake homeowners make. Do your research first before you pick a general contractor. And there's a lot of ways to do it. And I will tell you, AI is making it so much easier to find stuff. Like, I had ChatGPT run a search on the couple from last week's podcast, and the amount of stuff that it found that wasn't like, it was on Google, but it was like 7 pages back that most people wouldn't have gone all the way through to. So again, even if it's as simple as, hey, ChatGPT, I want to, hire this builder in this state to do this work, scour the intranets for all the things about this general contractor. Try it. See what it comes up with. Obviously, check its work because it is AI. But even something as simple as that, check to see if this person has any judgments against them in any state. I don't know how robust if ChatGPT is there yet, but that is a great place to start. Doing that research is really, really important. The other thing is contract.
Yes.
Making sure that your contract is really solid, that it is in protection of you and the homeowner and the builder, but mostly you. Like,
mostly you.
It's
we
your
want to
contract.
make sure that you're good.
And making sure that you're thinking about things like timelines, delays, what to expect, what is the cushion, what is your contingency. So many homeowner horror stories don't have a contingency. They didn't factor in the 15% of, oh crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that really sets people up for failure, because as we have talked, if you're
always
opening
be a
anything
problem.
up, there's always going to be problems. So it's the little things that I think make a really big difference, between checking and doing all the research to making sure that you're being strategic in who you use. Don't use a realtor that is connected to the builder. And we've talked about this on previous podcasts. A lot of builders will incentivize you to use their realtor. I don't recommend it. That realtor, now, granted, there are laws in North Carolina that, I'm sure there are laws in other states as well, that incentivize a realtor to not be shady regardless as to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But people they're going to be people, and they're going to do what they do. And you don't want to be on the wrong end of somebody having a lack of integrity moment. Mm-mm. So the way to avoid that is just to not use the realtor that's connected to that builder. Definitely do not ever use a lender that is connected to the builder. I cannot stress that enough. The story, listen, the story from last week is just living rent free in my head. And they used a lender that was connected to the builder. There was definitely fraud there, but it can't be proved. So these people are just out here footloose and fancy free, having taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from people. So definitely, air gap your realtor, your builder, your interior designer. Create space so that the people that are working for you are working with your best interest in mind. Mm-hmm. What else is there?
Making sure that the deposits are, a decent amount so that you can get the materials covered that need to be ordered, and probably a little bit for some work, but don't fork over 60% of the total amount that they're going to do, so that if you control the money, you control the project.
Yes. And that, it's interesting. We've had a couple GCs on the show, and so we've had kind of a range of deposits. I personally think if a general contractor is asking for a 50% deposit, I have questions. Especially if we're talking about a $200,000 renovation. You're telling me you need $100,000 to get started. Why? And one of the general contractors we had on the show, her response was, well, the homeowner needs to have skin in the game. Honey, the homeowner has skin in the game. It's their house. So this idea of you need to have skin in the game for us to want to work with you. I understand the concept of that. Nobody wants to get screwed. Nobody wants to do work and not be paid. Nobody wants to pay for work that doesn't get done. That's a two-way street. So I understand them needing a deposit, but the amount of that deposit, I think, speaks very highly to the general contractor. Now, a lot of people may watch this and be like, hey, Mikki. But I am factoring in all, we have yet, if you have a story, please share it with us. We have yet to have a general contractor write in and tell us of how somebody didn't pay their bills and all the reasons why. We have gotten, I don't even know how many stories of how a homeowner overpaid a deposit and the guy never finished the work. That we get all the time. If you're a general contractor and you have a story about how you did all this work and you didn't get paid, write it in, chicksandconstruction.com. We'd love to hear it. And you know what? Well, we're happy to share it, because I think there's things to be learned on either side of it. However, we're not bombarded with stories like that. We're bombarded with stories of homeowners getting absolutely railroaded by general contractors because they overpaid on their deposit, because they paid a 50% deposit, and now they're just not going to finish the work.
Yep.
So,
and I think because contractors know that homeowners don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, this is normal. This is what you have to do. If you want me to do the jobs, and this is what you have to do. And the ones that are like, oh, well, you need to sign right now before I leave. Like, I need your deposit right now.
Yeah.
No. Like, oh, I need to get you on the schedule.
Take time. Yeah. And that, ding, 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 ding. That is the biggest lure. And we've heard that from several people. Oh, in order to get on their schedule, to get in the queue. That was like the first homeowner horror story we had. They ended up paying like a crazy deposit because just to get in the queue, they had to pay this money. Listen, I hate to break it to you. General contractors be a dime a dozen. I know that sounds terrible, but it's true. There is no reason why a general contracting company, I mean, unless they're like, I don't know, have a TV show, which we've talked about that. There's no demand that is that serious. If a general contractor doesn't have the capacity to give you the space and encourage you, a general contractor should encourage you to make sure you're comfortable, to make sure you're okay with the amount of money, to make sure you're okay with them as a general contractor. They should be saying, listen, take a week, take the time that you need, sleep on it. Do your research. Make sure you feel comfortable with us. This is a lot of money.
Yeah. Here's my license number. Yes. You can check it.
Here's my insurance. Like, if the general contractor is not doing that, that is shady. And listen, you just may be a new general contractor and you're not thinking about things and you don't have the experience, but that in and of itself speaks to the experience that you're going to have. Especially when it's like a renovation and you're going to stay in your home. You need to feel comfortable with these people. And somebody putting pressure on you, oh, you need to pay this amount of money and oh, you have to have this deposit just to get in our queue. Listen, throw a rock and you'll find 3 other general contractors. Now, to be fair, devil's advocate, if you have an incredibly low budget, you could throw 7 rocks and you're not going to find a general contractor to take that work. And so that's where knowing what the project that you're trying to do, like a roundabout of what it should cost, is a great place to start. And one of the things, so we have home builders associations are all over the country. I'm a member of one just because I have to be for my insurance, if we're being perfectly honest. But the president of the HBA that she's great. I really like her. And I was reaching out to her, and she actually said home builders associations are a great place to reach out and ask questions. So they're a wonderful resource for people who are looking for good trades. But like, you know, when I ask colleagues, because I'll a lot of times get people that are asking me for like referrals for things that I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I got an email the other day on my company website asking if I know of any general contractors in Charlotte. And I was like, no, that's 3 hours away.
Why would I know people there?
I mean, I appreciate that you guys think I know everybody. I mean, I do know a lot of people. I don't know that many people. But I reached out to Holly and I was like, hey, I got somebody asking for, you know, do you know anybody in the Charlotte area? And she was like, oh, yeah. And so they have a lot of resources. They can help you find a lot of information. They can help you find somebody who, if they themselves can't help you, somebody who can. And the other one is the licensing board. So I don't know that the licensing board can necessarily give you, okay, this is how much it should cost, but they are a great resource. And so really tapping into resources and making sure that you're using everything that you have access to is really important. And the deposit is a really big piece. And listen, we can agree to disagree. I don't think you need a 50% deposit. I just don't. And I think everything is negotiable. And if it's not, that's also a red flag. If somebody comes and says, you know, this is going to be a $200,000 renovation, we need $100,000 up front, I would be like, no, I'll give you 20%. That's what I'm willing to do. If you're not comfortable with that, like, then I'll just find another general contractor.
There you go.
You know, that's where I'm at with that. So yeah, I think this is just kind of like a general list, but one of the things that I was so impressed with was, you know, with my travel buddy, was how thrilled she was with her house. And a lot of that was because she used this interior designer and the interior, and just realizing that the interior designer thinks about things differently than the general contractor does.
Yeah.
If you have it in your budget, I cannot stress the importance of like having access to somebody in that arena, because it took her experience from, oh, this was okay, to like, this was the best experience ever. So just a little tip, some tricks of the trade, a little info for you guys as I know it's getting into the season where, I mean, we're thinking, I'm thinking about an addition on my house. Hector's not thinking about that. He's just thinking about special trash.
He's thinking that if you put an addition on, it's going to take away from his special trash
hidey holes.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, oh no, where am I going to hide all my special trash?
He thinks he's hiding it on the side of the house.
He's not.
He's not. I know exactly where the special trash is, but we'll let him think that. So this is the time where people are thinking about, well, maybe I'm going to build a house. Maybe I'm going to do a renovation. Maybe I'm going to do an addition like a crazy person. I'm like, where am I going to put my dogs? Nobody knows. So as you're thinking about these things, we just want to give you some additional things to think about to help you to reduce the chances of you having a bad experience. Because all we want is for you to be able to know what you know, go into a conversation with a builder with a little bit more knowledge and a little bit like better questions to ask, some heightened spidey senses of like when something seems off.
If you think there's a red flag, then just pump the brakes.
Yeah.
And do some research.
In fact, also trust yourself. Like, if you think something smells amiss, it probably does. So trust your gut, girl. That's the scoop for today. If you have a story, be it you're a general contractor and you had a bad experience and want to share that, we would actually really love that. chicksandconstruction.com. We're here for it. We'll read it on the story on the show and help other people learn from that homeowner's mistakes. And if you are a homeowner and you had a bad experience, please go to chicksandconstruction.com and share that with us so we can help others not have the same experience as you did. Jess, where can they find us on the socials?
So you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Chicks and Construction Podcast. On TikTok, it's at Chicks and Construction. And don't forget, we also want your "this went really well" stories on chicksandconstruction.com.
Your construction wins. We want to hear your construction wins.
Some wins would be great.
Yeah, please don't spam us, but if you've got great stories, we're here for it. Also, apparently you need to say this. Please like and subscribe so we can be famous one day. That's really the purpose. That's just the goal. Trust fund kind of money. You know what I'm saying? Trust fund money. Help me help myself. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.